At this time, I'd like to call the regular meeting in the New Ulm City Council for July 15, 2014, 5 p.m. to order. First item on the agenda is your consent agenda items. What's your wishes?
I'll move it.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion on any? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. At this time, I'd like to have the mayor, he's got some information he'd like to read.
Thank you. The League of Minnesota Cities has selected 19 members of the Minnesota House of Representatives and 12 state senators as 2014 Legislators of Distinction. The honor recognizes legislators for specific actions that aided efforts of Minnesota cities during the year's legislative session. To be eligible, the legislator must meet one or more of the following criteria. The legislature is generally and reasonably accessible to league representatives. The legislature seeks input on issues of importance to cities. The legislator listens to league concerns and is receptive. The legislator sponsors and/or supports league initiatives. The legislator speaks out on behalf of the interest of cities, and the legislature demonstrates the importance of partnership between the state and the cities. This year, Senator Deems was given the honor of distinction of honor for his work on workers' compensation, reinsurance law that addressed financial exposure issues for employers with events involving multiple workers suffering from post-traumatic stress events, and also his consultation with staff as teachers' insurance pooling legislation was progressing through, and he's always available. Representative Torkelson was given this distinction honor for his work on a variety of tax issues, including the sales tax exemption, clarification legislation, LGA, or local government aid funding, and a technical corrections bill. He's also very accessible to league members. So we have both of our representatives as a legislator of distinction this year, and the League of Minnesota Cities has asked if I would inform all the councilors of this, and also the viewing and present general public. So I think it's a good deal for our two senators.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 2A. Consider resolution approving the reassessments of the 2007 special assessments on Lot 1, Block 1, Dakota West Edition.
I'll offer the,
Wait, is this a
Can't
public
yet.
hearing?
Mr. President, I'll make a couple comments. This is a public hearing on a resolution approving the reassessment of special assessments in Dakota West Edition on Lot 1, Block 1, from some 2007 public improvements. The amount to be proposed to be assessed is $25,921.51. A notice was sent to the property owner 2 weeks prior to the public hearing as required by state statute. I have not received any written comments.
Anybody here like to be heard on the public hearing? Seeing none? Entertain a motion.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading, closing the public hearing, adopting the final assessment roll for 2007 reassessment Lot 1, Block 1, Dakota West Edition,
Second.
a 10-year period.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading, closing the public hearing. Any more discussion?
I have one question, Mr. President, on the simple interest charge. Can we just talk about that rate and where that comes from? Or can we ask our engineer?
Mr. President, that is tied into the bond issue of 2007, and that interest rate was set by resolution or motion by the city council back at that time. I suspect you could change it. I defer to the city attorney on that if you wanted to change it.
This seems awful high.
Well, if you remember, we charged 2% over the cost of the bond issue, and at that point in time, that was before the economic downturn, so,
Okay.
you know, the bond issue would have been in that
It was
4 to 4.1 or
5,
something
yeah.
like that.
Okay, I just wanted an explanation on that. Thanks. That's fine.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Ekvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 3A, consider amending the city code to allow chickens to be kept in the city of New Ulm. Mr. Grummins, you got some information on that?
Mr. President, City Council members, as you're well aware, the City Council had created a subcommittee made up of approximately 6 people. The subcommittee met 2 times and discussed if there was going to be chickens allowed in the community, what would the regulations be? And in those 2 discussions, what you have presented before you is what came out of that. This by no means is a support of chickens. It's just that if it was going to be allowed, these would be the things that we would look at. No more than 4 hens, no roosters or other types of poultry. Chickens are to be confined at all times, so no free-range chickens running from neighbor to neighbor. Chickens would be allowed in R1 and R2 zones only, and only single-family residences. So if you had a duplex, one family wanted chickens, one did not. We're not going to get into that argument. It's got to be a single-family residence, and no apartments could have them. Chicken feed, food is to be contained in rodent-proof containers. Chicken waste to be removed weekly. Dead chickens to be removed within 24 hours from chicken enclosures. No slaughtering of chickens. That's basically the gist of the rules for the chickens. Then we got into the coop design standards. And quite honestly, I think every one of these items, including the chicken regulations, were drawn from other communities and other ordinances that are already in existence. We tried to take the best and what applied to the city of Ulm. The coop design standards, 6-foot height restriction, 1 coop per property, maximum area of coop and run is 72 square feet. Coop is where they would spend the night. Run would be the outside kind of fenced-in area. Maximum exterior run size 56 square feet. You'll notice that the maximum coop size of 16 square feet, that's based on the recommendation of the humane treatment of chickens of 4 square feet per chicken. The maximum exterior run is 56 feet, which is based on 10 square feet per chicken. Not something we plucked, not something we took
Plucked.
out of the air, but something that is recommended in all the information that we had on having urban chickens. Coop must be 24 inches off the ground or placed on a concrete pad. That's to keep rodents and other things from living underneath the chicken coops. Coops must be constructed of durable material, fully enclosed and well ventilated. Coop shall have enough windows to allow for natural light inside. Coop run must be fenced on all sides, including the roof. Then we get into adjoining owners, all property adjacent, including across the alley but not a street, must approve the application by signing off on the form. Application is $40, good for 2 years. Allows for, if you want 1 chicken or 4 chicken, 4 is the maximum. I did note in the information that I read that obviously chickens are a flocking type of bird, that they do not recommend 1 chicken because
Right.
they like to have other birds along with them. So it's probably not practical for the chicken, but if the applicant is living in a rental property, the property owner must also sign the application in support of the chicken permit. Site plan and coop designs are to be included. Coop design must meet basic humane needs of the chickens, heat, cooling, food, water, protection from the elements. Coop must be located in a rear yard. Coop setbacks from property line are those established in the R1, R2 zone. So, if you have a 5-foot setback for your garage, you'd have a 5-foot setback, side yard setback for your chicken coop. Coops must be 25 feet from applicant's residence and any neighbor residence. Fine is $25 for first violation. Second violation results in the permit being revoked. Coops are not allowed in any home or garage structure, By accepting the license permit, applicant is authorizing the city to inspect the chickens and facility during normal city hall work hours. That gets to the humane aspect of it. If somebody's, says, the not being treated properly, we'd have somebody come take a look at it. Obviously, police officers would be exempt from the normal work hour limitation. They can show up anytime if there's a complaint. Coop pens must be well drained of moisture. That was reflected in many of the ordinances, and also the humane treatment of chickens. Moisture is not a good thing. For chickens, manure is to be contained in weather fly-proof containers until removed weekly, composted or used as fertilizer. No limit on the number of chicken license permits in the community. Other communities our size might have 1 to 10 chicken permits. This is just what other cities have found to have occurred. And the license permit is not transferable with the applicant's property, and this ordinance would be for a trial test period of 2 years. So those were the, I think, the items that the committee put together and said were important. If we were going to create an ordinance and allow chickens, these are the important things that we would want in that ordinance. We did not, we did spend amount of time on the, should there be permission from your neighbors or not. As you may remember, Mankato had a really far distance,
300 feet.
300 feet. That's a lot of people that could nix
no.
that. We felt that was not appropriate in New Ulm, but your adjacent neighbors did seem like it'd be a good thing to have them approving that. So, we didn't try and make this as tight as, and hard for people to comply. We basically took ordinances from other communities that currently have chickens and utilized many of the same things that are in theirs that they are already complying with, and tried to make a common sense approach. So we did have, I think, as I guess what I want to say is, we had a difference of opinion on the committee. There were supporters of chickens and there were not supporters of chickens. And so this isn't just something that, chicken lovers said, let's all do this, So we did get the other opposing view. So when we talked about many of these items, we got what happens in other communities, we got what seems reasonable and what would be unreasonable. I think it was a good discussion over many of these issues, and ultimately this is what the committee put together for the city council.
Mr. President, I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
When you talk about those challenges of the negatives, what did you discuss as far as the challenges of either monitoring, getting the signatures, or getting permission from the neighbors? I mean, will that come out from the engineer's office so that you're not pitting neighbor against neighbor? A letter go out saying a neighbor has, asked for a permit, and so that can be kept confidential so that the neighbor, I just worry a little bit about that. If a neighbor doesn't want them, are they going to be pressured into saying yes to that neighbor? Because face to face, it's hard to say no. So what are some of those challenges that you discussed?
Well, some communities would send out the notices to the neighbors. Our group, and we looked at applications from other communities. So you got the applicant who wants the chickens, and then they bring it into City Hall, and then the City Hall would then send out letters to the neighbors within a certain amount of distance. That's one way of doing it, I guess. What we talked about, if memory serves correctly, is that on the application form, at best is you're going to have one on either side of your house and across the alley. So you could have 5, one directly behind you, 2 off to the side behind the alley, and then 2 next to you. So you could have 5 people. And I believe what we said we would do is on the application form, we would just have, 5 spots for the neighbors, and it'd be up to the applicant to go talk to the neighbor and say, I'd like to have chickens.
Mine would have 4.
You live behind me in the alley. If you support it,
Okay.
it needs to get on the application. So when it came to us, all that work was done already. So that's how we approached it. No, we've not made the application form. We've not done anything other than just discuss possibly how it would work. So it's subject to change, if council wants to use a different process, that's fine.
Right, for the purpose of, moving the matter onto the floor, and then we can discuss the rules, I will move to authorize the city attorney's office to prepare an amendment to the city code which would allow chickens to be kept in the city of New Ulm with various rules and regulations, which I think we should be discussing as a part of the work on this motion.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I have
I'm
a
going to
cou-
vote no on it, as you read about in the paper, and since day one. It's not so much about me as I quit counting at 152 people that said, Ken, Butch, Pinky, we do not want chickens. We live in a residential community. It's not an agricultural community. Why should we have this all of a sudden popped into it? We came to town, or we live here, because you don't have those things. And I had one person, in fact, that one person lived in my ward that said that he wouldn't mind, he would go along with chickens. One person says, I don't care if I have them or not. I had 3 emails, 2 of them thanks to Les telling somebody to contact me because I was against them, that wanted them. And the other person said, I don't really care. So in terms of what's it like to Ken Rockfam, when you're well over 150 people that say, we don't want chickens, I'm not going to vote for chickens. That's what government is all about. It's the rights and the wishes of the people.
I guess I got a question for Brian. In the information that you wrote up, it says no slaughtering of chickens within the city limits. Why? I guess my concern is if we have the chickens and you can't butcher them and you're done with them, what are you going to do with them? Are you going to let them run loose? Are you going to, Humane Society won't take them, so what's going to happen to all these chickens?
Well, I take them out to my friend's place out in the country and
Well,
slaughter them there. But
right.
this was a point of discussion again, rather lengthy, because we're not that far away from rural, agricultural enterprises, and secondly, people go out and shoot deer and they take the deer and they put it in their garage and they cut it up and they process it. And people go out and shoot ducks and they shoot pheasants and the same thing happens. And the only differentiation between those animals and the chickens is that the chickens are alive. The other animals are brought in, they're already dead. And I think the communities that had no slaughtering of chickens, I've got vivid memories of living on the farm and processing the chickens, and you could do it inside a garage if you wanted to, but when we lived on the farm, you didn't. You did it outside, and I think the actual act of the killing of the chicken is what they're trying to avoid in the community. Like if you went out in the country, killed a chicken, brought it in, and processed it, that would be no different than a duck or a deer or a pheasant. But it's that act of killing the chicken and then processing it, maybe in view of other people that don't necessarily want to see that. That's the only thing I could come up with, the differentiation between one's currently alive and it gets killed, and all the other animals kind of come in, they're already dead.
It was pretty
So there's
common.
no ordinance.
It was pretty common in the other city ordinances.
Well, I know I've seen it in the others. I was just curious of.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have anything specifically that says you probably can't do that, but it was so common in the other ordinances that you kind of said, well, what's the difference between that and other animals that people may process? And the only thing I can come up with is that one's alive when you process it, and the other one, they come in, they're already.
We have no ordinance that right now that would stop it. I mean, well, we can't have chickens, but I mean,
Yeah, there's nothing saying you,
Right, what if your parakeet got to you and you
No
wanted
butchering
to-
parakeets.
Why?
yeah, there's nothing on the books, I think, that says you can't do that.
okay.
Mr. President, I just throw a couple of comments in too. I kind of had the opposite reaction of my fellow councilor Rockfam in my areas. I have at least 2/3 that were supportive and 1/3 against. And when I did a little bit of, and I went through all this last time, I'm not going to repeat what I talked about last time, but before we had these individual meetings, I started calling some of these cities and basically asking them 3 questions. 1, what advice do you have for us? 2, has this been a law enforcement issue? Because I did get some emails from law enforcement officials saying, again, not in support of this policy or this agreement. And the 3rd was, based on your population, how many applications did you really get? And that was probably the most shocking to me because, you know, we're dealing with floods down on Garden Street and all this other damage going around in our community, and here we're talking about chickens. But what I heard was like St. Louis Park, 45,000 people in their city, basically have a chicken ordinance, basically the same that we're proposing here tonight. They have 8 permits out in their city. Anoka's 60,000 people, and they have a very small number. And as Brian mentioned in the report, we're not expecting more than 10. I think once people realize that they got to build a coop and they got to take care of these animals and they got to remove the waste, keep everything in protective containments, it's a lot of work for $1.50 down at the grocery store for eggs. So what you normally see in these cities that are the people that really are applying, or probably what we're seeing here tonight, are people that have children that want organic eggs, that they want organic meat, they want to know what's going into their food, and they want to teach some lessons to their kids. Are we going to see 4, 5, 6, 7 permits? That's my guess. That's what we're going to see. We're not talking the city be over and run with chickens, as some people are paranoid and fearful about, and going back to the many years ago when we did allow many, many chickens in our community. So I do support this because I can't find a reason against it. I didn't see, when I researched concerns with chickens in town, I just didn't see anything. Everything that would come up about smell, well, we got that taken care of. My neighbor doesn't want chickens. Well, we have a regulation about if your neighbor doesn't want it, you're not going to have to worry about chickens. So I think we have enough protections in this proposal, and in 2 years, if we have concerns, we bring it back, we get rid of it. I absolutely would be the first one to support that if there are concerns. So I guess I'm the opposite of my counselor Rock. I'm on the other side of the city. So it'll probably be up to the other 3 to make the decision.
I do have 2 correspondences, one from a Barbara McKee, who is in opposition to chickens, and also one from a Vince Sloot, who is opposed, or is in support of allowing chickens. So that's all I've physically have received as far as correspondence, and we'll give those to Reg.
I had some questions about, because I plan to vote in favor of allowing chickens. I think any kid would benefit from understanding what animals are like to take care of when they don't bark or meow. I mean, I just think they can be a real good pet. But I've got some questions. I'm concerned about this maximum coop size and maximum exterior run size. Do we really have to be that rigid? I mean, I can understand allowing a maximum square area. The coop and run is 72 square feet, and a minimum coop size of 14 square feet. But does it have to be exactly that way? What were you thinking? What were the 2 of you thinking about in that regard?
In taking a look, I think we looked at the square feet per chicken and what some other people, some other communities had done. And they felt that those were more than adequate size. Remember, we're in residential areas. We're not in open prairie land.
Well, I guess I can understand saying, it's just that there's no real flexibility there.
Correct.
You have to have a coop that's 16 square feet.
No, that's the maximum
Maximum.
size.
Could be smaller.
All right,
We're saying no larger than that.
all right.
Because we don't want to, as Ken said, we don't
Right,
want to take up
especially
the
if you
whole
only had
backyard.
2 chickens.
Right.
All right.
Right.
All right.
Smaller.
Got it.
The average was 4 square feet per chicken is
All
what
right.
the recommendation, what we learned from our
So if you
background.
had
All
4
right.
chickens, you'd be 16 square feet.
Right.
Got it.
Yep.
All right. All right. And then what was the idea about not allowing the chickens in any garage structure? Because it would seem to me that if someone had a garage and they were willing to turn over one portion of the garage to their chicken coop, I don't think that would be unreasonable. But what was the thought there? Not allowing the garage to double as a coop.
I think we just saw it in a lot of other city ordinances, so
Yeah.
I don't think we
The
had a
next
lot.
thing, in the garage, you've got, we have 4 as the maximum. We don't have 6, 8, or 10. And if, it's easier to be outside looking at, monitoring it, than it would be if they were in a garage.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it probably has more to do with, in my mind, the keeping of chickens in a structure that not necessarily, designed for the chicken aspect of it, and so you have maybe the garage itself deteriorates because of the chickens that are inside it. The vermin, the mice, the whatever now are, instead of maybe looking at a structure outside, now you've got them going into a garage or a house structure, and they wanted to keep them, I think, as far away from the house and any other structure as possible.
All right, and then my next question is, I think we're all aware that we do have certain single-family dwellings that have been occupied for a long, long time that are in industrial zone. Down by the farmers co-op, there's people that have lived there for a long, long time, and that just happens to be zoned industrial. And I'm wondering why we would exclude those people who, have single-family dwellings from having chickens just because they're living in an industrial zone. And I don't know if there's other people who, I assume there's single-family dwellings in places that are zoned B3 or, R3. I mean, I can understand your point that you didn't want one person in an apartment building to be able to apply for that, but. I'm just thinking of I think the Corinthian property was in zoned B3. Why would you exclude that home, that single-family dwelling, in the residents there from being able to apply for a permit to have chickens? I guess I would prefer to see it there wouldn't be any reason to exclude any person in a single-family dwelling, regardless of the zoning. And maybe that's something the city attorney would have to think about a little bit. But was there anything more than just not wanting anything but a single-family dwelling to be able to apply for the permit?
No, I think, part of it comes from other communities, but secondly, I think what we were hearing, the purpose of having the chickens and the eggs was the family, and so I don't think we actually thought about houses in industrial or business or commercial zones. I think if you were to change anything, you could say, single-family residences
Period.
in
Yeah.
any
zone.
any of the zones would be
Right.
perfectly fine. We just
We
focused
didn't
on
want businesses to be
Right.
able to apply for a permit. We didn't think that was
Yeah.
proper.
Okay.
Because there's
That's
certain
a good
parts,
point. I'm glad you brought that up.
there are certain parts of the community that, what should we call them, where they can't be put at all.
Right.
There already exists some, and what is the correct term, Mr.?
Covenants?
there's certain
Covenants, yeah.
covenants in certain residential districts are,
That was part of their
even though
development.
even though the city council would allow it, the covenants on your property may say no chickens. So the covenants rule until changed, so that, but I think for our purposes, when we were talking about residential, we were thinking this was a family thing, and we didn't probably think of the commercial and industrial zones that have single-family dwellings in them. So I think the intent was single-family dwellings.
Okay.
Is that
Correct.
Yes, that's, okay. And then with regard to how many of the neighbors, when I see adjoining owners all property adjacent to the applicant, including across the alley, well, the way I would think about that is that's 3. You know, in my neighborhood where everybody's got a 50-foot lot, I would say that there's 3 people that adjoin a 50-foot lot. The people on the north, people on the south, and the people across the alley. So that's the way I would think about it, that there's 3 people who would be directly involved, not 5.
And we had quite a bit of discussion. We had discussion between just adjoining property owners versus adjoining property owners plus across the alley, and
Right.
some of
Well,
our,
and I guess my preference would be just the adjoining property owners, especially if,
There are some communities that have it across the street as well, and we opted not to have that. Right.
I would, my opinion is if you're gonna go 25 feet, I would do it cross plus.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm saying
3
5.
people. Or
5.
5?
5, yeah.
Mr. President, to ask a question about the R1 and R2 zones. In the industrial zones, are there setbacks? Because it says here, co-op, or coop rather, setbacks from property lines are those already established in R1 and R2. So maybe what that really was intended to be was
For the
setbacks for everybody. I don't know, maybe.
I think the city attorney can draft the ordinance in such a way that that we can put the setbacks
Yeah.
in.
I think that's what.
I think you're right.
That's what I was looking at when I was
Makes
just
sense.
re-going
You're right,
over this
you're right,
again.
because the setbacks are different in different zones.
Anything else? Ruth?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I guess just kind of state where I'm coming. I had several calls, talked to several people on the street and stuff like that, and I would say most of them people were about 50-50, some for, some against. Some of those that were for says they don't want their neighbor to have them, though. One of those type of things. And I guess
NIMBY.
just to kind of let you know where I'm coming from, I grew up on a farm, and we had chickens and we had roosters, and we had chickens for the eggs and we had roosters to butcher. And if you think they're cute, they aren't, because once they get so old, they start losing their feathers and everything else. And that was my concern about slaughtering, because you can't butcher them, you can't get rid of them, where they're going to end up running on the street. The other thing is if we're going to start allowing chickens in town, the next thing we're going to have is ducks and geese and everything else. And to me, if you want chickens, farm's the place. Sorry about it. I moved to town to get away from them. So.
I have another question, getting back to monitoring, and you talked about opposition amongst the committee of that. Where did the opposition come from? Was there staff that was not for chickens as far as the extra work that they're going to have to monitor, or what was their opinion?
I think the position of staff is we'll do whatever the city council wanted to do. The opposition came from the 2 members of the city council that are on the committee,
Okay.
as you can tell by the
Yep.
voice positions. Councilor Rockvam was opposed, and Councilor Schultz was in support of. And so, that did bring up a lot of discussion about what's right and what's wrong, and as I say, the police chief, he'll he'll inspect the chicken coops if he's told to. Thumbs up back there, right?
Right.
But I don't believe that the inspection aspect would fall to the police department for this. It would probably go to code enforcement, which does the Shammy the horse and
Right.
the pot-bellied pigs that we find in town and things of that nature. So the police are the backup, but it would be an administrative enforcement.
You mean we have live pork on the hoof in town?
We have.
I know we had llamas, but got rid of those.
There's
And I know President Schmitz, my understanding from our committee meetings that there are several people in the community that have already stepped up to say, if people want to get rid of their chickens, there are people in town that are gladly willing to take them, and they've already put their name out there. And so that would somewhat help that concern that you have, that there are people that are willing to step up and take those chickens probably at the end of their egg-laying lifetime.
Yeah, I just don't want them put out on the street running around.
Right, absolutely.
And I believe the Humane Society is not prepared to
No.
take any
No.
chickens.
I personally call it.
Run by Happy Joe's, there might be a few takers there, that's for sure.
Well, it wouldn't bother me to allow slaughtering of chickens in town.
Yeah, we just
but
saw it on a lot of the applications.
that's-
It was-
That's not, I don't care one way or another about that, if that's in, I don't think that's gonna change your mind, though.
No.
Yeah, right, so,
Within the last minute or so that we have left before we vote, I would ask you two to change your mind and to vote no on
well,
this.
and I would ask you two to change your mind and vote yes, for the
I
same
was
reason.
first, much more creative.
You know,
I think you better work on Lisa.
yeah, right. Well, and
I'll
like I
call
said,
for the motion at this time.
Okay, motion's been called. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam,
No.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
No, motion carries. We will have chickens.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
Just for clarification purposes,
Sorry, oh, yeah.
the city attorney has been instructed to prepare an
So I'm
ordinance.
just gonna go in.
It'll come back to the city council at 2 meetings, first reading, second reading, and upon adoption, it goes into effect 30 days after publication. So this isn't go out and buy your chickens tomorrow. This is in about
gonna say
4
that.
months from now.
We'll vote on it at that.
Probably
yeah.
next year.
I said, you'll be looking at the state fair for your,
Yeah.
Oh,
for, to
Ex-
select your
exactly.
chickens, so.
Say, Myron, keep your old car, switch out the cage.
Keep the cages.
All right.
All right.
Item 4A, consider amending the city code, chapter 5, to conform to the Minnesota statute language and clear up the confusing and outdated
Here.
language.
Oh, I'm all in favor of that.
So you're moving that?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, it's a
Ooh,
resolution.
resolution.
No?
No.
In it?
No.
Did I jump down one?
Yep.
Yep, all right, there we go. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, now we'll go to the next one. Item 4B, consider resolution authorizing the closure of an alley adjacent to the B&L Bar Building, 15 North Minnesota Street, and extension of the liquor license into the closed alley area on Friday, August 22nd, 2014, at 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the community concert.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waived reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 4C, consider a motion to approve the airport utility easement agreement with the New Ulm Telecom Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4D, consider motion approving the professional services contract with Whitsett Smith Notling and Associates Incorporated to prepare plans for Bridge Street number 08520.
I'll offer the motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, any discussion?
This is our 20th Street Bridge, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct.
For
Right.
approximate amount of $28,808.
Yeah,
That's approximate, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Close to that.
Or a plan.
Yeah,
That's just a
know.
plan.
That's
Plan,
just a
correct.
plan.
yeah.
That's only a plan.
And it's not until next year.
Next, yeah, okay. All right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4E, consider motion authorized to repair of a sinkhole on the city property leased by Putting Green Incorporated.
I'll make this motion. I hope everyone has had the opportunity to go down and look at that sinkhole. It's really got to be fixed. And
Yeah.
we're gonna have, it's basically our property, and I understand that the lease would require payment by the Putting Green, but it's got to be done, so it's gonna,
And it's not basically city property, it is city.
it is, yeah, it is.
Right. And then my other comment would be the agreement, I think, doesn't really pertain to sinkholes. I mean, that's just kind of a
Yeah.
natural disaster type thing, so I'm fine with it.
I need a second then.
I'll second it.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4F, consider approval of the annexation of part of E and one half of the northeast 1/4 and part of the east 1/2 of the southeast 1/4 of section 25, township 110, north, range 31, west, and part of the west 1/2 of the section 30, township 110, north, range 30, west, Brown County, Minnesota, and conduct the first reading of ordinance number 14-118.
Okay.
I'll offer the motion approving the annexation and the rest of that.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the annexation. Any more discussion?
Mr. President, do you want a first reading of the ordinance?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, this is ordinance number 14-118, fourth series, City of New Ulm, Brown County, Minnesota, an ordinance for annexation of property to the City of New Ulm pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 414.033, recitals. Whereas the City of New Ulm is the owner in fee simple of certain properties located in Brown County, Minnesota, legally described on the attached Exhibit A, whereas the City Council of the City of New Ulm has deemed the described property to be urban or suburban in character or about to become so, and whereas it is in the best interest of the City of New Ulm and its residents that the described property be annexed to and incorporated into the city limits of the City of New Ulm pursuant to Minnesota statute section 414.033, and whereas pursuant to Minnesota statute section 414.033, subdivision 2B, no public hearing on the proposed annexation is required. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of New Ulm, Section 1, that the following described property is hereby declared to be annexed to and incorporated into the City of New Ulm with the same force and effect as if such property had originally been part of the City of New Ulm. See attached Exhibit A, which is attached to the ordinance. Section 2, that the property described in Section 1 shall be designated and zoned as R1 Agricultural Residence, RA Agricultural Residence District for purposes of uses of districts pertinent to zoning. Section 3, that the city engineer is hereby directed to make the changes to the official map of the City of New Ulm evidencing the annexation and zoning of the property described herein in and to the City of New Ulm. Section 4, that a copy of this ordinance shall be filed with Milford Township, the Chief Administrative Law Judge, the Brown County Auditor, the Brown County Recorder, and the Secretary of State of the State of Minnesota. Section 4, that this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced 30 days after its passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, and upon approval of such annexation by the State of Minnesota and filing of such approval as required by law. And the usual form of signature, attestation, and approval follows.
Thank you. Any more discussion? If not, we got a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4G, consider resolution accepting donations and memorials to the New Ulm Public Library.
I'll offer that resolution, waive the reading.
I'll second.
We got a motion to second off the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Not. Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 4H, consider resolution approving the use of $12,254.04 from the fund balance for furniture and carpet to be installed in the redesigned adult meeting space.
I'll offer that resolution, waive the reading.
I'll second it.
And I would like to hear from the director what's going to be happening in the library. I think we all love our library. I'd like to know what the plan is. Not because I'm against it, but just because I want to know what's going on.
Chris Wiley, Library Director. What we're planning is on the second floor, we are doing some shifting of some materials to make more space for our young adult area, and that's moved to the Broadway side. That's given us more shelf space for a collection that is growing. In that area where our DVDs, we move those down to the main floor to make them more accessible to the public. That's left an open area on the second floor parking lot side, and so we're looking to create a space for our many programs that we do. Right now we're doing them in fiction, kind of cobbling together some furniture. So we would be doing book groups there, we'd be doing our Noon Tunes programs there, and it's been nearly 10 years since we've had public furniture, and over the course of that time we have surplus some furniture that's been well used and is it's no longer viable to try to repair that. So we're trying to create not only a space for our newspaper magazine, quiet reading area, but then it would work for public programs as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher.
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 5A, consider motion to adjourn till Tuesday.
Oops, we got the addendum.
That's right.
I move we suspend the rules so we can hear our addendum.
All right. We'll go to the addendum.
We need a second?
I'll second that, sorry.
We got a motion and a second to suspend the rules, go to addendum. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. If I don't get this to come up, I'll use my paper one.
Ah, right.
There we go. Consider resolution authorizing the early retirement of the December 1st, 2015 through 2017 payments of the general obligation permanent improving revolving fund bond series 2007 on December 1st, 2014.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I
It's
would
a
like
good
to-
deal because it's going to save us money.
Right, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Resolution.
Oops, sorry, resolution.
Counselor
Finance
Fisher.
Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Fisher.
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 1B, consider resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing the terms and conditions for sale of general obligation permanent improvement revolving fund bond series 2014.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any discussion?
And that's our next meeting. August
Correct, August 5th.
At 10 a.m. and then we'll have, okay. Good.
Finance Director, please call the roll.
Okay. Counselor Fisher.
Yes.
Counselor Rockvam.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Webster.
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Now we'll get to the end of the meeting.
There we go.
I'll offer the motion to adjourn to Tuesday, August 5th at 4 p.m. to accommodate National Night Out activities.
Second. We got a
Second.
motion and a second to adjourn to August 5th, 2014, 4 p.m. to accommodate the National Night Out. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Great.
With no more business to be concluded, meeting adjourned.
Great.